very warm welcome to everyone. I am Shrija Agrawal, and what we are going today to discuss of huge significance, the relationship between women and finance. At best, it is an uneasy relationship. At its worst, the relationship doesn't exist. It may be easy to blame years of social conditioning and patriarchal traditions for the unhappy bond between women and money. But it is time women learned to make peace with it. Despite the financial pitfalls that a woman encounters at work and home, gender pay gap, financial illiteracy, familial responsibilities, marital hurdles, legal bias, on her way to monetary empowerment, it is perhaps a good time to take charge of her finances. With the easy access to online information, changing social norms, as well as the freedom to earn and invest, women need to shrug off the taboo and meet the financial challenges head on. In this episode, we will talk about such relationship, the financial future of women, and more. To talk more on this with me is a very relevant speaker, and please help me welcome Priti Rathi Gupta, who can be best described as India's financial feminist. Founder of the platform Lakshmi, India's first financial planning platform for women, and MD and promoter of Anand Rathi Group, Preeti is one of the few people who really has a long-standing experience in the area of financial services, being a veteran for the last 2 decades. She founded Lakshmi with an aim to bridge the gap between women and finance. Lakshmi powers women across all life stages to invest in a customized, easy, and hassle-free product and take charge of their money. Beyond a financial planning platform, Lakshmi also derives conversation and robust conversations around money, around financial awareness. Please help me welcome Preeti, and thank you for putting your time and energy to this. My first question to you really is an open-ended question just to set the context going, is that over the years, women have really encountered financial pitfalls owing to the gender pay gap, financial illiteracy, marital hurdles, and legal bias. However, as India's economy continues to develop and modernize, including the digital transformation that we are into right now, a shift definitely is taking place with increase in access to online information, changing social norms, and women's greater freedom to earn and invest. Given your role in making this shift happen, how do you see the state of play with respect to financial planning and women in India in a snapshot?
Shrija, thank you. Thank you for the welcome. And, it's a pleasure to be here on this episode. I think it's high time we had this conversation. And I think, kudos to the publishing house or to Mint to really start this conversation. And as Lakshmi, I'm very happy to partner on this. So first of all, let me just set the stage of what essentially the financial planning space or investment space in India looks like, right? Before we come to women. So here is a country, we're an emerging economy. But when we look at our percentage of AUM to GDP, it stands at a very, very poor 14%. So that's the kind of penetration of financial products within the country. And this I'm saying across, men and women. Compare it to, economies like the US, where it is 100%, but even other emerging economies which stand at 50% of, GDP. So the AUM to GDP is at 50%. So we surely have a long way to go, right? So essentially this gap, if we bridge, then we are saying that by 2025, the current, 28 odd trillion that is invested in AUMs or in mutual funds or in the equity markets in India is likely to go up to close to 100 trillion. Now, I'm just setting the stage for what the next from 2020 to 25 will look like, right? And this journey, a population where 50% are women, this journey has to have a large part of women participating in it, right? Currently, if you look at where women are in the space of really managing the money, financial planning, the data that we get says that about 33% women are invested as opposed to 64% men. Now, I would not take this data at face value, because when we say 33% women are invested, it also includes women who, in whose names, the investment has been done. So if you actually look at the number of women, that that would have ideally made their own investment decision, it would come to a very, very low number, much lower than that 33%. Estimation, and I think there's a survey done by Nielsen, I think it's done by DSP and Nielsen, which says even less than 3% of women, working women, actually take charge of their money or invest their money. Now, this actually puts in perspective where the big gap is, right? Um, and why does this happen? So I think while we see that the number of, the women aiming for higher education is increasing year on year, before COVID struck, even the women taking solo travels, for example, increased 100% year on year, right? But why is it in the financial services space, in the financial planning space, women just that is just seeming to be that final frontier which nobody wants to cross, right? And the reason is because essentially I think financial services have their default customer is a male, and therefore all the services, all the communication, all the products are typically catered or targeted towards men, which is why women have so far not been able to really actively enter into the space. um, on the positive side, women enterprises are increasing, so you see more and more women actually taking up entrepreneurship, setting up their own businesses. Of course, we still face that challenge of women in workplace. Our gender diversity still struggles at maybe at 24%, but I see that also changing, and I will share my reasons because I'm extremely positive on that as well. So even if you look at globally, I think you'll see numbers where women are adding 5 trillion to the wealth pool year on year and at a very rapid pace. So there's no reason now with access to information India will lag behind, right? But there's a survey done by BCG which says that 70% of these women who are already investing are still dissatisfied with the current service providers. They feel that their needs are not being understood. This is not being tailored to them, and they essentially have to really make that extra effort, just like we have to in our careers, to say, okay, now I need this to be customized to me. I need to go beyond and understand what will really work for me. Um, Society dynamics are changing. You will see increasingly, the average, if you look at the age group between 20 and 30, you will see more the number of single women rising, especially in the urban space, right? So everything that stood true 15, 20 years back doesn't stand true. And therefore, the need for women really to manage their money is rapidly increasing. Um, and I think if you see the way women have taken to the digital economy, right? So whether it is e-commerce, whether it is social media usage, whether it's WhatsApp usage, even the online transfer of money, right? Post demonetization, so Paytm has become a very widely used, comfortable space to be in, or any other payment gateways, right?
Yeah.
So all of that essentially, I think right now it's the stage is actually set for women to now actually get to the next frontier of saying yes, um, we do want to look at managing our money. We want to reach out and understand. What is lacking is essentially platforms or financial service providers who are actually talking and giving women the solutions that they are looking for. uh, and I think if that is, even if you look at the number of women who are invested, and you see in terms of average AUMs between men and women, Amphi data will tell you that the average AUM of women is higher, even though the percentage of women investing is lower. So I feel it's just the right time. I feel the stage is set, and I think women are gearing up. But I think it also needs for financial service providers to actually get up and say, yes, there is this emerging economy, there is that entire she economy that is on the rise, and we need to cater to it.
Thank you, Preeti, for laying this out so beautifully for us. What I understand from you that they are perfect storm-like conditions, quote unquote, and times perhaps take advantage of it. And that brings me to my next question. Now, you spoke about the fact that this digital transformation wave going on, women have taken digital platforms so quickly and so well. So I want to understand from you that what we also have right now is an environment of economic uncertainty, which essentially sparked by the pandemic created. Do you think that that has really sort of created far more awareness among women on key financial planning and savings in times like these. And these could be women whose husbands or fathers have taken a financial hit, or women who are working and have taken a financial hit themselves directly. Do you see the deep economic fallout of the pandemic perhaps creating a step change in the way women are taking to financial planning? But would want to get your views on this.
So it's very interesting, I mean, I think when we look at the pandemic and we look at numbers around it, and this is true for all previous pandemics, Shrija, that pandemics are gender blind.
That
You
is
know,
true. Yeah.
they don't look. The virus doesn't see whether it's a man or a woman,
Yeah.
but the impact of the virus actually has not been as gender neutral, right? It's been harsher for women. So job losses, salary cuts, loss of earnings actually have been far higher for women.
Very well said. Yeah.
and 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 I think this really brings home the fact that the importance of saving money, the importance of growing money, the importance of essentially being prepared for any financial crisis. I think that reality dawns on men and women, but in this case I think women obviously realize the need far higher um, than men do. So you're completely right in saying, totally right in saying that yes, this is a time when women have suffered far more than men have. um, Having said that, I think we are already struggling. We are struggling with, like I said, the ratio of women in workforce at a mere 24%. And during this time, for it to, go even lower, because women are employed largely in, sectors like hospitality, aviation, front office, travel, where the hit has been maximum during this pandemic. So, obviously we have suffered, but it has also given us a time to reflect and learn, right? It has given us time on hand. It has given us access. This time around, I think what's different is that there's the entire digital world, virtual world that has opened up. So access to really learning, taking up, imbibing new skills, that has opened up. Um, and I think that's what for example, in Lakshmi, we've seen an enormous number of women over the last few months actually come up by themselves and say, we want to learn about managing money, we want to understand how to save more effectively,
Wow.
how to build multiple revenue streams, even how to manage, for example, if they're running their businesses, how to separate the business, the business finance from personal finance, which was actually never, we've never seen that kind of interest, say 8 months back. So this pandemic has actually been a catalyst for really bringing about that change. And like you rightly said, I think women have taken up that onus, and we will see given the rise of this gig economy, work from home becoming acceptable norm for a lot of companies now, the opportunities for women to earn is also increasing. So I think with newer opportunities, armed with newer learning, I think we are ready to kind of get into this space and say, yes, let this be a time. And I always feel, I mean, every time there's a crisis, I think every time you're cornered, that's when we come up with our best, right? Best learning, best innovations, best solutions. And I think for women particularly, this has been a catalyst to really understand the space of managing money more effectively.
Okay, so point is essentially that the pandemic has proven to be a huge accelerator for women to come forward and take charge of finances, and you're already seeing such signups on your platform. So that brings my next question to you, Preeti. So what role is a platform like Lakshmi, which is India's first digital platform for women, really playing in this, arena that we are in right now, where digital transformation is the center of it, especially in terms of financial literacy and planning? Give us some color and sense there. Also, I ask you this question that we have seen investors in stocks like gold, bonds, GSEC, SIPs being those who are managing the best to create a buffer against the economic fallout of the pandemic vis-a-vis other saving instruments and asset classes. Have women really gone out, understood these instruments, and taken charge of their finances? What are you seeing on your platform?
So I think digital, of course, has been a great boon for women to really go out. One of the reasons, so we did this survey before we launched Lakshmi. We surveyed about 4,000 women. And one of the biggest friction points for them was the fact that they needed to go and speak to an advisor. And that was like an inhibition, right? That in some way was the big factor which said, okay, we'll leave it for later, I'll have to speak to somebody, there are so many questions. And when they went to an advisor, the questions that were asked, what is your risk profile, etc., just kind of drove them away. And they said, okay, we've learned that traditionally certain instruments, saving instruments, have worked, and they should work for us in the future as well. I think digital has changed that to a great degree. And again, this is gender neutral for men and women, right? So I think access to a lot of online learning, the ability to really, go and, lots of online platforms that will allow you to, transact, etc., seamlessly, all of that has opened up. I think interestingly also, the idea of really creating, conversations or communicating online has now become the norm. So it's, the whole idea of really person in person, face to face, because this is money, I need to meet a person and talk to them. All of that, I think that gap between, in person and virtual is diminishing, right? It's all becoming one. And I think it's becoming acceptable. The fundamental shift, and this is something that I do want to highlight, because a lot of people ask me that why do you need a separate platform for women? What is it that Lakshmi does differently, right?
Yeah.
uh, and here is what I as a woman firmly believe, and I'm sure you will second that, and a lot of women who will listen to this will agree. I think it's all around the concept of trust. So typically, if you look at the pyramid of trust, the way men look at trust, or essentially what is understood as trust, is that it begins with being trust neutral, right? Saying that I don't really care, I don't distrust, and nor do I trust very, very much. And then it builds up to the next concept of saying contractual trust, right? Where I'm happy because I'm trust neutral. I'm happy to do a transaction with you. So do that. I will invest, I will put in money with you, and you will return. This is what you will get. And then the third bit is, which is called the higher up on the pyramid, is called something called the mutual trust, right? Where you're saying, okay, because you're telling me something, I trust that it is in my best interest, and therefore I'm able to take that advice or take that, a feedback from you. Now, this is what a typical trust pyramid looks like, and this is what the world and the world of financial services understands it. When it comes to women, firstly, we don't begin with trust neutral, right? When it comes to money, we are extremely, as part of our DNA, we are nurturers. So we begin with the fact that I have to protect first, and therefore I am not willing to, when I look at somebody who's asking for money or saying invest, I'm looking at it very skeptically. So I begin with skepticism. And therefore, for me, it is important to first build in the block of mutual trust, right? Saying, communicate, create those conversations. It's only when I trust you, when we build that mutual trust, can I say, okay, now I'm willing to have that contractual trust with you. And that is where that big difference between the way men invest and look at money and the way women invest and look at money is very, very different. And which is why therefore it needs a far more focused approach. It needs building those trust blocks, and which is why, for example, community is core at Lakshmi, where you have women who come together, women who are already seasoned investors, as well as women who want to start their journey of investing. And there are conversations where it's a platform where there is no inhibition, and you can actually ask questions, get mentored by a lot of women who are coming and sharing their experiences, as opposed to really a financial advisor telling you, okay, this is what you must do. Because I've heard this very often. Again, we go back to that survey we've done, where women would say, yes, we've had that advisor come and tell us, put your money in, but I have seen somebody who's lost their entire money. So for example, equity is considered as a zero sum game, right? It's either 0 or 100. And I think that's where hearing peer-to-peer conversation, hearing from other women, learning from them, is a critical phase of a platform. And I think this is where I feel, while the digital platforms are there, while the digital world has opened up a plethora of options, I think for women, it has also opened up that opportunity of creating this community, virtual community, where you can come and talk, and which needs, you know, a lot of nurturing. It needs a lot of directional um, kind of care by, you know, women who kind of lead those communities. And I think that's where Lakshmi comes in, and that is where I think digital has been an additional boon for women to really come and, you know, start building that piece. And I cannot highlight enough the fact that, you know, we are, as women, a lot of, I think the world sees us as risk averse, and I always say that we are risk aware and not averse, and that's the awareness that we aim to build, which then is the step towards, you know, really taking charge of your money and saying, okay, I'm ready to invest now, I understand.
Priti, thank you so much for laying this out so beautifully for us. And I really like this entire concept of the trust pyramid that demystified for us and how it's different from men and women. So Lakshmi's concept and how you still got thinking around it and what does it really make sense so women becomes clear to me. Tell me a little about the modes of differentiation, Preeti. Tomorrow, if you have a large fintech player or large platform which creates a separate niche for women, how will be that different from Lakshmi? And what really bars an incumbent financial services player to do this?
So, you know, there is, I always say this, that every platform has its unique, you know, identity, unique target segment, and therefore what it delivers, right? So there are a lot of platforms who are doing, who, you know, essentially there are online platforms, there are neobanks, you know, who are catering to everybody out there, right? Now, when you're catering to everybody out there, you're saying, okay, I will cater to men, women, or millennials, or, you know, whatever may be your target segment, and therefore all your offerings are customized towards that. And like I think I've made my point in saying that women do need a separate, you know, they need that separate platform, they need a different kind of platform, also product offerings, for example. um, so again, I come back to the point where why is, say, a platform which is only for women different to platforms which are, you know, even otherwise online, and can create, say, okay, we can create communication towards women, right? um, so let's understand this. So I think, one, the way we think about money essentially is very different. You know, like I said, we're risk aware, we're very goal oriented, um, and also the way we kind of take money decisions, um, especially, you know, we're known to be better money managers because, and there's enough statistics to say that, and I love to bring this out in every conversation, that women actually have the right attributes for managing money. So whether it is, you know, delivering under crisis, right, maintaining that stable mindset when there is crisis or stress. So when markets are really going up, you know, the ability to maintain that discipline or falling down, to maintain that, you know, mind of saying, yes, I'm investing towards my goal and I should just stay disciplined, you know, taking that balanced decision. That's an attribute that we as women anyways have. But today, to look at how we invest, you know, our life stages are so different. So for example, we take more career breaks. um, you know, we earn, of course, lesser, we live longer, so our retirement period is longer. So everything that we kind of invest for is very, very different. Now, for any platform to kind of customize this, you know, it's like saying you could go to really a restaurant which serves you all the cuisines, and then you have a restaurant which serves you a particular cuisine, right? And there will always be that difference, that when you're catering to a certain segment, um, you're making sure that you're meeting their needs as closely as possible. So one is that, and second, I do truly believe that, I think it is a platform, you know, Lakshmi is a platform which is for women by the women. So your ability to really understand the needs, communicate those needs, build that, you know, like the community, the trust, and then deliver and, you know, curate products which then meet the needs of women as per their life stages. Needs, to me, it is beyond machine learning, it is beyond artificial intelligence. It does need women to drive this. So I think one of the big differentiators that we bring is that we are a team of women who are delivering these solutions or the communication to women. Um, and I think one more important piece that I would like to build here is, or I would like to say, is that it needs a lot of work along with the ecosystem. So it's not just saying, let's get all the products that are available and let's make it available to women and just kind of package it as for women. It needs a lot of work on the back end with the ecosystem, which are your product manufacturers, which are, it could be your AMCs, it could be insurance companies, to really come and understand that need and curate. For example, even even for example, even addressing the need of seed money or entrepreneurship money for women, or loans, or the availability of funds. Today all of that needs the dots of the ecosystem to be connected. And again, I think there is so much need that probably just one platform may not be enough, because the effort, time, and the conviction needed to really drive this is something that um, which personally I feel that a lot of the platforms out there, um, like I said, everybody has their own target segment, and they're saying, okay, this is what I need to go after, and you know that's where you'll focus your energies, and you'll focus, getting products to, etc., building your technology on. um, so I think it's the focus. It's really creating this whole for the women, by the women, and then working with the ecosystem on the back end, saying, okay, these are the products that we want to curate, because you've already got from the community. So our understanding today within the last 2 years also is so deep on what are the kind of products that women are looking at, and we realize the gaps even in terms of whether it is funds, whether it is policies, the gaps there which really are still to be met by women, and how can we work together with them to create better products, better um, let's say simplified and better products, both of these.
Thanks, Preeti. Thank you for that. So I think that point is well taken. It's platform of the women, by the women, and for the women. And that's a differentiator you bring to the table, which gets translated into almost everything that you do in terms of your curation, community conversations, products that you offer, and most importantly, how you work very closely with the ecosystem to provide those customized solutions to your women. But Preeti, the most important thing is really about your own experience. I mean, you have been a veteran in the financial services space yourself. You come from a family and a financial services organization of huge repute. You have spent about 2 decades in the financial services space yourself. So I would like to understand our viewers about Priti Rathi Gupta's journey a little, as a woman, and have you had faced those challenges yourself? And what really led to that thinking behind that, okay, right now is the time. You laid out all the reasons that Lakshmi and the digital transformation wave and the trust deficit that we have, and what advice you would have to women, from homemakers to students to professionals to business women, and how do you really undertake financial planning for themselves and believe in themselves more so while doing that?
um, So, Shrija, I think it's been, a long understood need for me, because, I've been in financial services for a very long time now, to understand that, um, unfortunately, we are not able to reach out to half our population. And that is what really made me, start Lakshmi. Uh, but like I said, the opportune time was now, when we were, the digital space has opened up, the access to a lot of women out there. So to come back to my journey, I think in some ways I consider myself very privileged, because I think my father insisted right on early on that, I should understand how to manage my investments, look at investments. So I remember that, when I was 16, I was 17, I was spending a few hours, understanding what it takes to build a portfolio of investments, and how to manage those investments. Um, I think what was very interesting was that, we I joined the business, and I, kind of set up various businesses, parties, so the commodities futures, currency futures. Over time, I realized, and with my peers, whether it is the male family members in the business, or even work colleagues, one of the things that I realized was that even when it came to, you know, investing money, the way I thought about investing was very different to what the male members thought about investing. And there was a time when even, I think the way my money was managed, and because it was, I had the privilege that you had a financial advisor in house who was managing your money. But it was very important to understand our dialogues were always around saying that, you know, so look at this, it has beaten the Nifty, last year's returns have beaten Nifty, etc., etc. And for me, it was more like saying, okay, these are my goals in life, and this is what I want to invest my money for. Um, Till actually I had this experience where I wanted to, and this is true again for women. We've kind of met about 5 to 6 thousand women over the last few months whom we've, kind of literally taught the art of, how do you start taking charge of your money, etc. And when we ask them their aspirations or what is it that they're wanting to learn this for, it's amazing that women say it's of course their goals are the family, it is the goals, it could be goals for the children, it could be a lot of goals, but all of them had multiple aspirations when it came to their personal goals and personal dreams. So there was always this, yes, I want to study further, or that I want to set up my business, or I want to set up this small sort of bakery, etc. And it always surprised me that we as women tend to want, we want to do a lot of things and we can multitask. But I think we need that power of money really backing us. There was a point in time when I was very, very keen. So I did a lot of work on creating a film fund. And we realized that while it is not an offering for a fund, but it is something that I would, on my personal end wanted to, create, say these beautiful stories that have a great shelf life. To me, it was living a legacy, right? And this was a personal aspiration. And I think to me, that was that moment of recognition. Everybody has a aha moment. Being in the world of financial services, that was the aha moment when I recognized that this was a goal that was there all along. It was a dream that was there all along. But somehow I didn't really systematically work towards saying, this is my dream and let me put money or let me invest money to create this dream. So it took me added 3 4 years to create that create that fund and start work on that. But it was that to me was that one moment where I said, this, if it is true for me, then imagine that entire world out there of women who don't have the privilege of having access to financial literacy. So that was, I think, that big turning point. And interestingly, I made this pitch at Harvard Business
Wow.
School. I'd gone there for an executive education, and we had to make a pitch for a completely new idea. And for me, because Lakshmi was there in my mind, I said, okay, this is something I have to do. So I pitched this. It's a classroom of 160 people, and very depicting the real world out there, right? So 135 men and 25 women. So I made this pitch, and for the at that point in time, to think of a name, Lakshmi to me was the perfect name, right? It's the dichotomy of how we pray to the goddess Lakshmi, and yet we don't manage our money as women. So I called it Lakshmi, and I made that pitch. And Shrija, I had almost 15 20 men rise up from that group of people in the classroom, say, but why do you need a separate platform for women? Whereas I had each one of those 25 women stand up and say, wow, what a great initiative and what a great idea, because we would love to have a platform where we can put in our money, a platform that understands our needs. So to
Wow.
me, that was validation, that it's not just India, it's a global problem.
Phenomenon. Yeah.
So I came back, and that's when I started work on Lakshmi. And it has been a journey for the last 2 years to create the platform, work on technology, using technology as really the pillar to reach out and create the right the right tools for women to enable them to, I never say empower, I say power them, because I think it's a latent power that we already have, to help them do this. To me, I think the biggest piece that we have to kind of look at is the stereotypes that exist, right? Even if you look at the word alpha, right, creating an alpha. Alpha is always considered to be a very male, synonymous with the male
Yeah,
ideation.
yeah.
So to kind of break that stereotype that men make money and women manage home, I think a lot of it is being done by a lot of other products, and I think the changing dynamics of the world, millennials think differently, and the Gen Z are completely different, right? They are like eons ahead in terms of equality and the way they think. Even the boys, not just the girls.
True, true.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think one that is being broken, but having said that, I think our existing investment stereotype is essentially paper asset classes, which could be your equity markets, could be your debt, bonds, GSECs, all of these veer towards men, right? The conversation is always around men.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
So if you see the advertisements, if you look at communications by everybody, it'll always have a man in the center of it, right? And it was actually disturbing to see that the only time women were really part of a financial service advertisement was when it was insurance, right? So using fear as a connotation to say, okay, now we need to speak to the woman. And I think that is something that we need to change, and we need to understand that women don't necessarily just want to invest in gold, I think, or physical assets. If they have access to this literacy, education, awareness, um, they are taking this up very, very effectively. And it's interesting. So if you look at a lot of, I mentioned advertisements, so if you look at, for example, what Amphi does, right? So increasingly there are now newer campaigns that are run with women in the center, right? Women having these conversations. um, at Anand Rathi, we just ran a campaign right now during IPL, and we will be running it in the festive season. And because I was in charge of running it, I said one of the things that we must do is, one, have more like have a few campaigns that have women talking about money or managing money. But more importantly, it just came to my notice that there are voiceovers, right, which are done after. It's a compulsion after any financial ad, right? Investments are subject to market risk, or even if it's a company name, you will never see it said by a woman. It is always said by a male voice. That's the change we made. I said we must have the ones that have women in it. We want women to say it. It's important to bring. So these are little things that you notice as you go along. So breaking that stereotype is something that I think is very, very needed. So all that I've learned in my 2 decades of financial services is of course a large part of what comes to Lakshmi. But I think even what I bring on board as a woman who's made that journey, with my share of learnings, mistakes, um, whatever it is that experience has taught me, is something that to me, I don't wish for. The women of today should not have to go through a learning curve. They should, be all of this should be available to them without having to go through so much of time. When somebody tells me what is that one thing that you would have done differently, I would have launched Lakshmi probably 20 years back, or at least I would have started completely hands-on managing money, or speaking to women about it. So I think it's important for everybody, while I think women within the financial services, women like you, like me, who understand money, need to talk even more, mentor more women, the way we do when it comes to careers, etc. I think money is that, there's a reason why I believe feminism is driven by the power of money, um, and which is why we may ask for equality, we may stand up and say a lot of things. It is essentially knowing that you have the ability to make independent choices across whether it's careers, whether it's relationship, whether it's anything to do in your life, and it essentially comes from money. And I
Wow,
think
it's an
that's what.
incredible journey. Incredible listening to you, Preeti. And you truly are the financial feminist. And one can see the passion coming through and very rightly put across that you bring across your experiences, your pitfalls, but more importantly, the fact that you are a woman and how the center of the entire thinking is led by that. which is extremely critical. And thank you for also sort of telling us that how to plug the stereotypes that exist around women and the little tidbits that actually go a deep way into sort of conditioning our behavior and attitude towards them. I think we're moving towards the end of the conversation. We spoke about quite a few things. We spoke about the opportunities set. We spoke about the challenges. We spoke about the concept of Lakshmi, the entire idea of expansion plans. I want to understand from you that about the ecosystem. How can the ecosystem come together in the achievement of this? What can other players in the financial ecosystems, like say the banks, the regulators, the government, AMCs, NBFCs who are listed, and players as Lakshmi do to make a paradigm shift to the world of financial planning for women? Is the COVID fed economic uncertainty the right time for a massive, high profile, perhaps a coordinated national push for financial inclusion and literacy for women to protect themselves from the impact of such black swan events and continued uncertainty in the new normal? As they say, never waste a good crisis.
Absolutely. So, I think this crisis has been essentially the catalyst for, it has been a catalyst for change, growth, innovation, everything. But it will, I have this great conviction that this pandemic will be actually the catalyst for um, a larger financial inclusion of women. Um, and I think everybody plays a role in it, right? I said it is connecting, it has to be connecting the dots between, the banks, lending institutions, manufacturers of financial products, whether it's mutual funds, AMCs, even financial services firms, right? I think that conversation has to start becoming, it has to shift a little bit more towards striking conversations with women, making this, the environment and the ecosystem very, very um, what should I say, convenient, also making it very, like a norm, right? You have to me, managing your money is a life skill, right? It is a
Yeah,
life skill
yeah.
that men and women both need. And women, I've, for whatever reasons that I've spoken about before, also life stages, longer lives, less, lower earnings, we need to build that life skill even more. And therefore all of these institutions also need to kind of do, come into that whole play of really sending out the right communication. Also, I think we may need, I mean, I truly believe that, for example, transaction costs for women to really do any transaction or investments need to be a little lower, because I don't believe that gender neutral is right now the way to go for financial services. I think we need to veer and we need to pivot towards a little bit more bias towards women, because that's where, one, I think that's the larger chunk of the population which is not yet, you know taking up, or it's not coming into the financial services gambit. And pivoting products, pivoting communication, pivoting all of that towards them will be great, not just for the institutions and the intermediaries themselves, but I think for the country as a whole. Because I truly, and I think we all agree, right, that women, when they grow their money, when they take charge of their money, that money is actually, it comes back to the household, it comes back to the society, it comes back to the community. And it is something that we'll see. To me, I think if we have even 20% of our women population taking up investing, we will see, easily like a few percentage rise in the GDP of the country. And if that actually comes home, that's to me the easiest way of saying, okay, let's all put our minds together and work on this. So to me, I think it needs a very focused approach from even the institutions or banks. And we've seen, for example, they're more seasonal, right, the communication. So you'll have a certain time when only women centric communication is going out, whether it's bank accounts, whether it's savings accounts, or whether it is an insurance. You'll see it is very seasonal and very kind of limited to just a small amount of period. And I think what needs to change is consistent communication. So even, like I said, advertisements that go out, campaigns that go out, I think we need to make it clear that women need it far more than men do. And I think that's where the change will really, that I think the visually see something again and again, that recall value, that stereotype, the stereotype that you build breaks down. So of course, I think all of them need to come together. But I do think that because it needs a focused approach, I think Lakshmi, and I hope many more platforms like Lakshmi, there is a need for a lot many women to come up, and or a lot many people to come up and start platforms which have focused communication, focused product curation for women, because that's where I think that's the future. To me, that's the future of financial planning, financial investment. And I say this very often, that that's where we are headed towards. Like, it's women who are the future of financial planning.
Yeah, future is definitely female. And I really like to aspect when you said that getting more women to the mainstream finance conversation will actually lead into GDP growth. There's actually evidence for this. The recent IMF numbers released, for India and Bangladesh, where we actually ranked lower than Bangladesh also. And the primary reasons was Bangladesh's very, very apt response on the women participation to the labor force, which actually translated into direct GDP contribution, which I think in India we lack. So very fair points sort of made there, Preeti. My last question to you really is that tell me a little more about Lakshmi in terms of the current stats of women that you have, the expansion plans for the organization, and really the role of artificial intelligence and machine learning, if at all do you have, because ultimately we're talking about future of financial planning there.
Sure. So, like I said, Lakshmi, we've so I think 3 years back I really started work on Lakshmi. And we started with, because I come from the background where all decisions have to be very informed and based on numbers and based on facts. So we did this entire survey before we really created Lakshmi. And it was interesting. A lot of the input that we gathered is what we took into saying, this is how Lakshmi needs to communicate, this is what we need to talk about, this is the kind of creating a community itself was the outcome of that survey, where women said that I trust my friend who tells me where to put my money better than I trust you know a financial advisor. And that to me was really the big insight into saying that we need to create a platform which enables, which allows women to take up that step. So 3 years back we started work on it. We launched the platform. So we one of the things was clear, that it has to be a technology backed platform, it has to be an online platform, but also the mix of online and offline, because again I think it's great to have women who also can meet in person, have these conversations, or meet other women who've achieved financial freedom, to learn from them, to see, yes, it is doable, and it is not such a difficult step to take. So 2 years back, we started work on the platform. We launched the platform. There was a bit of going back and forth because of the change in KYC norms, Aadhaar, etc. But we've done a long journey since then. We have about 6,000 to 7,000 women already in the ecosystem of Lakshmi. And these are women who are having active conversations about money. Some of them also investing their money. But I think to me, the big change is that the big, the high for Lakshmi and all of us at Lakshmi is that the growth of the community of women is essentially all organic. We've not gone out and we've not kind of, advertised. So it is a very woman to woman conversation. And I think that kind of validates our assumption that, this is how women kind of will come into the gamut of financial literacy, education. So the idea of Lakshmi is really to have, we call it the money place for women. So all your financial management, financial planning tools, education tools, all present, as well as products, all present on one platform through a community of women. Our aim really is that if a woman needs to talk about money, challenges, opportunities, or take a decision or invest her money, the one platform that that comes to mind is Lakshmi. So it's the safe and happy place for a woman to come talk about money and invest money. the way we look at it in terms of going forward is clearly to look at it, like I said, a money platform, which means that everything to do with money. So integrating a lot of working with partners and getting a lot of products which are curated. So Lakshmi acts as a filter to curate, kind of get products that are curated elsewhere. So we don't want to be making our own products. We want to get products from partners who also believe and understand the needs of women and bring them onto the platform. So essentially, let's just say like a neobank for women is what we strategize to. We're working. That's the broad strategy of Lakshmi. And I think interestingly, also it is. We do want to have global footprint because we've already got a lot of interest from a lot of countries actually who want to start this, and there is a need. Like I said, in a classroom where I had 35 women from different, 20 different countries, all validating the same point, means that there is a need. The only other market, which is really only other country which is actually talking to women is the US. And it's interesting to see how, but the demography is very different, right? They're talking to professional women. I think, India's problems are very different to what the US has, right?
Yeah,
Especially,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
but within the emerging economies, there is a huge need, and we are already in talks with, several countries to really, take this forward in. So to me, Lakshmi is not just a fintech. It is not just a new bank. It's really it's a movement. It's a revolution um, where women power themselves, and I think that's that one giant step towards equality. Um,
Wow. That was so beautifully laid out by you, Preeti, and I wish you all the best for that journey. And I really sort of see that, that passion coming through you in terms of really labeling this as a revolution, as a movement, rather than just seeing it as something which is just another entrepreneurial outfit. And that sort of makes it hugely differentiated from other offerings. Okay, so with that as a parting thought, that just go for it and future is female. It was extremely enlightening to have you, Preeti, on this show and unraveling those aspects about future of financial planning and really putting women at the heart and the center of it. I wish you all the best in your venture ahead, and I look forward to having audiences back on the second dispatch of the special series that we're doing in partnership with Lakshmi. Till the time we see you next, goodbye and good luck. And here's wishing you and yours a very happy and safe Diwali as we look forward to this. And Preeti, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you, Shrija. It was lovely to talk to you, and wishing everybody watching a very, very happy Diwali and a festive season. I think well deserved. We've had some bleak months, and looking forward to the festive season now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Bye
And
bye.
also the power of Lakshmi.
Yeah. True to that. Yeah.